Hey, how's it going everybody? ChanWin26 here, and today I'm going to be covering a couple of matches that I played earlier this morning. These matches took me from veteran to expert, and I was able to climb over 200 points in 5 sets using the team of Shadow Swampert, Dragonite, and Empoleon. And after today's performance, I was really happy. I was really ecstatic with, my overall performance. I made very few mistakes, and I was able to climb a lot of points, so naturally that's a good thing. And it's a confidence booster. I don't know about you guys, but I've been struggling in Ultra Premier. I don't think I've been playing necessarily bad per se. I'm not playing perfect either, but I don't think I've been playing too bad. I think the simple fact is due to XL Pokemon completely taking over the league. I'm sure you've noticed it on your end as well, or if you've been watching other people stream. You're seeing things like Stunfisk, Galvantula, Jellicent, Ninetales, Politoed, Umbreon, and so many other Pokemon that are really strong right now. And I don't blame people for using them. If you put in the time and effort to grind XL candy, you should reap the benefits of, the time you put in. The only small downside to that is because these Pokemon are being over-prioritized now, just because they're really solid, they're pushing out a lot of the other Pokemon that were considered meta in Ultra Premier, and the pool of viable Pokemon, at least in my opinion, is becoming exponentially smaller. The past few days of me playing Ultra Premier, it's pretty much been the same thing, just different order, and it's becoming a little bit more RPS. And yes, GBL is blind, so it will always be RPS, but in my personal opinion, the smaller the meta, similar to Master League, the more likely it is to become RPS. And I really do hope that, Niantic finds a way to potentially rework these XL Pokemon to a minor extent. Maybe some small nerfs or like some moveset changes. I'm not sure what exactly, but do something. Otherwise, for me, I'll probably kiss Ultra Premier, goodbye. I have the option to power up some XL Pokemon. I can power up things like, Umbreon, Stunfisk, Galvantula soon myself, but I just opted to not do it this time around. I like the challenge, I'm kind of handicapping myself by not using XL Pokemon. And, XL Pokemon are a hurdle that needs to be overcome. So, yeah, the fact that I was able to perform so well against XL Pokemon is really nice. And I just hate using Charmers, and I know there's Kingdra, which is a very solid safe swap, but I'm just not a fan of relying on RNG as part of my strategy to win games. I like being in control at all times, and a coin flip move is just not something that's suited to my playstyle. I don't like it. I personally think it's busted, but to each their own in their opinion. But yeah, so let's cover my games and let's see how I did today. So, like I said, I'm leading with Shadow Swampert. The movesets you can see on the screen. So Shadow Swampert into a Galvantula, or a Spooter. So a really good lead for myself. And they immediately save swap to a Jellicent. So this is slightly problematic for my team. I could bring in Dragonite, but Jellicent has the potential to have Ice Beam, so if they commit to the shields, then they can definitely win the matchup, and I really do need to preserve my swap advantage. So here, I could have went for the Earthquake, but I decided to try to bait a shield and then go for another Hydro Cannon. Fortunately, they called it, but I'm able to chip and dip, and somehow I'm able to, dirty swap, if that's what you want to call it, onto the Jellicent. Maybe they didn't tap their charge move in time, but my Empoleon eats the Shadow Ball. It does about, 45%. This could potentially be a Bubble Beam, but, it's really unlikely they bait at this stage. So I decide to shield, and I can proceed to farm down because they threw a Shadow Ball, and they're not going to get to another one. So I expect them to come back in with Spooter, unless they have like an Empoleon or Kingdra on as their third Pokemon. So they bring in Spooter, and at this point I'm just going to double Hydro Cannon. One Hydro Cannon doesn't KO, but it does a ridiculous amount on Galvantula. I get the first shield, which is expected. They're going to have to shield at least once. I throw another Hydro Cannon, and I get the second shield. So this is, fairly risky, but I decide to safe swap back to Swampert because I don't want the Galvantula to farm down my Empoleon. They throw the lunge. Does a moderate amount of damage, but at this point, because they're not swapping out, I'm assuming that their third Pokemon is weak to Swampert. I am debuffed by one stage, but because I am a Shadow Swampert and the Galvantula has already taken damage, this will KO. And they bring in a Toxicroak. So it makes sense why they didn't swap out. They don't have any shields and they can't take an Earthquake. And at this point, a Sludge Bomb doesn't KO my Dragonite. I have a shield, so they realize there's nothing more to be done. They top left, GG's. So very favorable lead for myself. Jellicent is definitely tricky to deal with my team. I just got to chip and dip and preserve my switch advantage and I'm fine. On to the second match. Shadow Swampert into Abomasnow. So this is definitely an unfavorable matchup for myself, but it's playable. It's not the worst thing ever, but I gotta get rid of this Abomasnow because an Abomasnow with shields can completely run over my team if it wants to. This could be a Weather Ball, it could be an Energy Ball, but I'm gonna shield regardless. So on my end, I don't have Sludge Wave, but my opponent doesn't know that, so I just gotta play the big game with them. I gotta at least potentially fame a Sludge Wave, so, you know, I can pull shields. I throw a Hydro Cannon, I get the first shield, that's great. I farmed up a little extra. This could potentially be a Sludge Wave, wink wink, and we'll see what they do. I get the second shield, which is amazing. So I decide to swap out and bring in Empoleon. By doing so, I preserve the shield, I preserve my Swampert's energy, and Energy Ball only does neutral damage to my Empoleon, so if I need to sack it, so be it. My opponent isn't swapping out, but I spoke to the scene. They bring in a Toxicroak, which is kind of interesting. You know, that may imply that their third Pokemon isn't necessarily good against Empoleon because they decide to catch a Drill Peck with their Toxie. So here, I wait out the switch clock a bit, I bring in my Dragonite, and this is a Sludge Bomb for sure. They don't get to 2 moves, and there's no point baiting at this stage. Because they have an Abomasnow, I'm not going to shield, and I'd rather preserve my shield for my Swampert. So they're waiting their switch clock as well. I'm just going to try to get to the Dragon Claw as fast as I possibly can. I'm not going to make it to a Hurricane. I get the Dragon Claw off, which is really good. And as you can see, I tried to tap my Swampert so I can combo play, but we CMP tied, so this Weather Ball is going to KO my Dragonite, which is perfectly fine. And I'm just going to overfarm with my Swampert. This is a Weather Ball, but I have to shield at this point. I cannot let this go. I don't know what they have in the back at this current moment in time, but because they're not swapping out, I'm inclined to believe that it could potentially be weak to Swampert. Unless they're just, you know, using their Abomasnow as a shield or, you know, a sponge to absorb some energy. I KO the Abomasnow, and it's a Gengar. A Gengar is, you know, relatively strong in Ultra Premier, but a Gengar without shields is pretty useless if you ask me. One Earthquake will do the trick, and that's a GG. So yeah, your game's my opponent. Some people ask me, you know, can you play the regular version or the Shadow version of a certain Pokemon to play like a certain team? And I will always say yes, it's playable, but the Shadow and the non-Shadow flip certain matchups, so it's really a preferential sort of thing. The Obstagoon lead, they swap into Venusaur right away, which is actually somewhat surprising. Obstagoon into Swampert is definitely playable, and I'm surprised they bring in their best counter to, you know, Swampert immediately. I don't necessarily agree with that play, but let's see how they decide to play it out. Because they gave up swap, I bring in my Dragonite into the Venusaur. And I gotta KO this Venusaur because this thing can run through my entire team. So I decide to undercharge just so I can get an extra bit of farm. So they're waiting their switch clock. And they bring in a Talonflame. Which makes sense. I mean, you know, they're gambling on the 2-shield Talonflame. They revealed their entire team, which is not the greatest strategy. It gives me so much more information, and I can just play around that. I throw the Hurricane, but they actually swapped into the Obstagoon, so that's perfectly fine with me. They take the Hurricane, and they're in Hydro Cannon range, so I'm just going to throw immediately. I'm assuming we CMP tied. I get the Hydro Cannon off first. They let the Obstagoon go, and at this point, it's GG. A Flame Charge doesn't KO, and if they Brave Bird, it will KO my Swampert, but at the same time, they debuff themselves, and I still have Empoleon in the back. So no matter what they do, unless I quit myself, or if I lag like very sporadically, this game is pretty much over. They realized as well, I have an Empoleon, there's nothing they can do, and that's a GG. That play on their part was definitely questionable. In a neutral matchup, I would definitely try to play it out. So this is the 4th match, Swampert into Ninetales. So this matchup is fairly interesting. I mean, oh, they decide to swap out right away. So they bring in Kingdra, and I make the high-risk play here. I farm up to an Earthquake, but I'm throwing the Hydro Cannon just to save on some energy, and I wouldn't suggest doing this like very often because it's super high risk, but yeah, I managed to pull out the shield, which is really good. I'm going to shield this. It's an Octazooka, but I gotta preserve my Swampert. So I wait for them to throw energy, I shield, and then I just come in with Dragonite. I outpace the Kingdra to a Dragon Claw before they get to an Octazooka. So they let it go, and they're going to bring in their Ninetales, which makes sense. This Ninetales has Charm, which means they're not going to get to, you know, their charge moves very fast. Because our switch clocks are desynced, I have to wait a little bit. And I'm going to bring in Empoleon. So they bring in the Drifloon, which is not the worst thing ever. Unfortunately, my switch clock is still not up, so I have to make sure I preserve my Empoleon for the Ninetales. And of course, it's a 50-50 here. Could be a Shadow Ball, could be an Icy Wind. I decide to shield, but unfortunately, you know, they got me with a bait. I switch out. I want to reset my Empoleon, and I still have a Hydro Cannon ready. So this is going to chunk the Drifloon. It pretty much puts them in farm down range. They throw a charge move. They throw a Shadow Ball, that's going to KO my Swampert. And I'm just going to proceed to farm down. And at this point, there's nothing for the Ninetales to do. It doesn't have a charge move, and all of its moves are resisted, so there's no way they're going to KO my Empoleon. And that's a GG. So on to the last match of this set. Chan versus Danky Chan. So when I saw this name, when I queued up, I literally stood up. I'm like, okay, I gotta face another Chan. I gotta prove that I'm the superior version. So they have an Umbreon. I'm just gonna assume it's an XL. So this is a very tricky matchup. If they commit shields, they can definitely win this matchup. Umbreon can eat Hydro Cannons for days. Is extremely bulky and a very, very strong generalist in Ultra Premier. So I decide to take the first foul play. I'm going to throw another Hydro Cannon. I need to chip down this Umbreon as much as I possibly can. And I decide to catch the foul play on my Empoleon, and preserve my Swampert. By doing so, I could potentially bait out any hard counters to Empoleon, which is not the case because they don't swap out, which is, you know, somewhat strange. I was expecting them to, you know, counter my Empoleon considering I gave up swap. Because they didn't swap out right away, that implicates that they didn't have anything good for Empoleon, and they bring in the Drifloon, so my hunch is correct. If I throw a Hydro Cannon, I get one shield. I throw another Hydro Cannon. I get the second shield, which is very surprising. And we must have CMP tied right there. So this is a very good situation for myself. The Ice Wind is double resisted. And they overfarmed there. They definitely could have thrown a move to pull at least one shield, but they got a little greedy. They KO the Drifloon, and they have a Ninetales in the back, which is extremely problematic for my Dragonite. Even though they don't have any shields, I need to get rid of this thing. In a 1v1 situation, my Dragonite, I don't think can handle this Ninetales. I'm very fortunate that I was able to get the Hydro Cannon off. A bit of lag right there, but it doesn't, you know, affect the matchup too much because I'm not going to get to another charge move. And I have a Hydro Cannon loaded on my Empoleon, but I don't want to come in with Empoleon and throw right away because of that. They do have the Umbreon, and they were expecting the Hydro Cannon to, you know, come immediately, but that was not the case. And at that point, it was GG. I could get to the Hurricane, and even if my Dragonite went down, as long as I tapped my charge move, they would have KO'd the Ninetales with the Hydro Cannon. So yeah, 5-0 that set. And as you can see, 2584. This was my second set. I started off 2571. So shield on, you know, some free exile candy, claiming the rewards, and I climbed from 2584 to 2656, which is a very solid gain. And this is the next set against Fujin Mei. Swampert into Shadow Snorlax. As long as there's no like desync or lag, Swampert can win against Snorlax or Shadow Snorlax in all scenarios. So this is a favorable matchup for myself, but it's relatively close for the most part. So they Body Slam, I take it, and they swap out to Kingdra. And I'm assuming they tried to catch a Hydro Cannon, but I was very patient with my energy. They realized that they didn't catch the move either, so they shield, which is smart. I immediately swap to Dragonite, and I know that I get to the Dragon Claw before they get to an Octazooka, so I'm just going to throw immediately. And they shield again. So this is most likely an Octazooka, but at this point, I don't think it's worthwhile to shield the move. I get debuffed, so if I did shield, I would have been debuffed. I would have still lost the matchup, so it's very good that I didn't. I just wait for my switch clock, and I come in with Empoleon. I resist the Dragon Breaths, and I can just farm down. The waterfalls are double resisted because the King does a Dragon and Water type. And, you know, this could be an Octazooka, could be an Outrage, but at this point I have to start shielding. Fortunately, I did not get debuff, which is really good. And they bring back Snorlax, which is, you know, very interesting. But they don't have any shields, so I'm just going to double Hydro Cannon. And it didn't really occur to me during this match, but I just realized that, you know, after the match was over, this could have potentially been the 6 Ninjas line, the Snorlax lead, and the Kingdra safe swap. They bring in Kingdra again. I I have to debate whether I want to shield or not to preserve the Hydro Cannon. I decide to shield. They throw the Octazooka, and thank goodness I didn't get debuffed. So the fact that I'm able to throw this Hydro Cannon and it's not debuffed is pretty much what wins me this game. This Hydro Cannon does so much against the Clefable. It pretty much does, 50%. And then Empoleon is going to outpace the Clefable to a charge move. And I am going to win a CMP, should that be the case. And that's GG. So, after seeing the match, it is the 6 Ninjas line. Snorlax lead is very uncommon in my personal games. I don't see it too often. So when I see a Shadow Snorlax and, a Kingdra, I just automatically assume Clefable in the back. Swampert into, conveniently, another Shadow Snorlax. So this time, they bank their energy and they catch the Hydro Cannon and the Kingdra. So really well played on my opponent's part. It's double resisted, so they don't have to shield anything. I immediately swapped to Dragonite. I know, like I said, I outpaced the Kingdra to a charge move. I throw the Dragon Claw. It's up to them whether they want to shield or not. And they let it go. And they bring in... So here's a mistake right here. I feel like they were a little overzealous. They did not wait the switch clock, so waiting the switch clock on my end would serve me no benefit. I just come in with Empoleon, which is a wall to Clefable right away, and I just play out the matchup. Because the Empoleon resists everything, I am going to just let these go. It's a Psychic, which is only single resisted, but that's fine. I'm going to throw the Hydro Cannon here. Let's see what my opponent does. And they let it go. So they're banking on their Snorlax to, win the match for them. I throw another Hydro Cannon. They shield as expected. And this is cutting it a little close. I wasn't 100% sure at this point if I was able to get to a Hydro Cannon. Fortunately for me, my opponent throws some energy, which is really good for me. If they farm me down, it would have been extremely problematic. Yes, I do have a shield advantage, but Snorlax can be very spammy with the body slams, and they do a lot against the Shadow Swampert. I throw the Hydro Cannon. It wouldn't KO. Honestly, if they let this go, I'd be surprised, but it would be the optimal play. And I get the shield, so at this point, I just throw an Earthquake, and it's GG. My opponent would need 2 moves, one to grab my shield and one to KO. Unfortunately, that probably wasn't the case, otherwise they would have thrown right away. And the Earthquake KOs, GG's to my opponent, and that's a wrap. On to the third match. And keep in mind, guys, I'm playing these matches at like 5:30 in the morning. The sun probably just came up right now. So, Swampert into Stunfisk. They safe swap into a Gallade. So, in this, I don't have a hard counter for Gallade, so my mindset is I just need to chip and dip. Either chip it down or get a shield. I get a shield. I catch a Leaf Blade on my Empoleon. There's no reason for them to throw a close combat, so I know this is a Leaf Blade. So I get them to expend some energy, and I'm still up a shield, which is very good for me. They throw another charge move. A Leaf Blade technically wouldn't KO, but it would put me in farm down range. I'm expecting a close combat, so I got a shield. So they use all of their energy. And I could farm them down, but it would be at the cost of my second shield. So what I do here is at the third confusion, I just throw a Drill Peck in the middle. And they decide to let it go. So they're waiting out their switch clock, which is smart. And they bring in Stunfisk into my Empoleon, which is questionable. I'm going to get a Hydro Cannon off, which is perfectly fine. It doesn't KO, but it's super effective and it does a lot. They let it go. which makes sense considering they know I have a Swampert as a lead. My Empoleon did its job, it preserved my swap advantage, and I got my energy off, so I'm just going to let it go. I bring in Swampert, they bring in the Venusaur, and I gotta swap out immediately. It does me no good to stay in with Swampert, and I can't afford to let this Venusaur get a huge energy advantage. Regardless of, the matchup, this Venusaur is going to have to throw 2 charge moves to KO me, assuming I don't shield. I throw the Dragon Claw. I grab the shield, they throw another move. At this point, I'm pretty much in Frenzy Plant range, so I expect them to go straight Frenzy Plant from here, and it's more energy efficient than Sludge Bomb. We actually CMP tied, so this is not good for me. I undercharge it as much as possible, just so I can, chip it down slightly, but put it in farm down range. I farm down the Venusaur, and I'm just, a few Dragon Breaths off from a Dragon Claw, and that's GG. So the reason I undercharged is simple, because we CMP tied, and if I KO the Venusaurs with the Dragon Claw immediately, I won't have any energy for the Stunfisk, and the Stunfisk can overfarm. Swampert into Blastoise. So in this matchup, for the first Earthquake, I know the Blastoise outpaces me. They will get to the Hydro Cannon before I get to the Earthquake. Because I am a Shadow, I definitely want to shield this, because it does a lot. I'm going to throw the Earthquake. It wouldn't KO, but it does a lot. I expect my opponent to shield, which they do. And for the second Earthquake, we actually CMP tie on this one. So I get the Earthquake off first because I win the CMP. It lands. And I have to decide whether I want to shield or not. I do want to shield and preserve my Swampert. I feel like Swampert is a very valuable asset to this team. And I wanted to try to farm down this Blastoise, but after eyeballing it, I know that that's not going to happen. They throw a charge move, and my Empoleon's going to take it. Everything's resisted, so I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm a little surprised they didn't swap out immediately to bank the energy, but... And they bring in a Kanto Muck, which is a very interesting choice. Definitely not a hard counter to Empoleon, so I'm assuming that they don't have a proper response, otherwise they probably would have brought it out. They resist the fast moves, and in most cases, Muck usually carries Thunder Punch and Dark Pulse, so I'm expecting this to be a Thunder Punch. Super effective, but it doesn't do the most damage compared to other Pokemon. I know the Muck can't farm me down with their fast moves, so I intentionally decide not to throw my charge move. I want to take the opportunity to chip it down and, let my Swampert farm down the Muck. I feel Swampert with the energy advantage is a lot more valuable than Empoleon. So they're waiting for the switch clock, and they bring in a Psychic type, which is a Hypno. So I throw the Hydro Cannon right away. And as you can see, they threw a Confusion. So I'm going to swap out immediately just so the damage registers on my Dragonite instead of my Swampert. And this is very risky, but at this point I don't have many options. If this Hypno has Ice Punch, this game is pretty much over. I'm not going to get to a charge move. But they have Thunder Punch, and that is very fortunate for myself. They also tried to catch a move with their Blastoise, which is understandable, but that extra bit of farm is what enables me to get to the Hurricane, and that's gonna one-shot the Hypno. Regardless though, even if that didn't happen, I would have been able to Dragon Claw and win the CMP with Swampert and throw a Hydro Cannon, so no matter which way they played it out, I think I would have won. Swampert mirror matchup. So when I play this matchup, I try not to throw first. It's usually more susceptible to laying an extra Mudshot through first. But you know, I don't want to overfarm too much either. I gotta take the initiative, so I throw my Hydro Cannon. I get the first shield, which is good. They throw a Mud Shot, and I throw another Hydro Cannon right away. So they throw a charge move. I take 20% more damage because my Swampert is a shadow, so I got a shield. And I tried to catch a Hydro Cannon, but I know they were patient with their charge move, so I'm expecting this to be an Earthquake, so I shield. And they bring in a Galvantula, which is definitely not good for myself. We CMP here. You expect them to throw a Discharge. And one thing, folks, this is exactly why IVs matter, and you're going to see firsthand. High PvP IV Empoleon, and I'm able to survive the Discharge. So I'm just going to throw the, the Hydro Cannon right away. And I'm able to get the Hydro Cannon off and a Waterfall. And now this puts the Galvantula in farm down range. They bring Swampert back in, and I'm going to throw the Hydro Cannon. I don't want to take any chances and risk them getting to a Hydro Cannon. They shield, which is very surprising. And they quit. I don't know what they have in the back, but, if they quit, that implicates that they didn't have a response for the Dragonite or the Swampert. And a 5-0 set. I'm at 27-16 at this point. A Thunderous for my troubles. Yeah, just claiming my rewards. And this was my final set of the day. I climbed from, the 2700s up to 2790. And yeah, that was the end of my sets today. So as you can see, it's definitely possible to compete against XL Pokemon without having any of your own. That being said, if you have the time and the resources to build them, I highly recommend it. They're very strong Pokemon, and as much as I dislike what it's doing to the meta, I acknowledge that they're really strong, and you should be using them. Hopefully in the future, the diversity of Ultra Premier comes back. Otherwise, like I said, I probably won't be playing it as much in the future. But right now, I'm just, taking a laid-back approach. I'm taking my time with accumulating XL candy, and I'm just focusing on doing what I can little by little. I could have some of them ready, like right now if I wanted to, but I decided to opt out. I willingly opted to not use any XL, and I'm just going to focus on climbing, with my level 40 Pokemon that I already have built. And then maybe when I hit Legend, or if I'm Legend by the next rotation of Ultra Premier, I will consider building them just for fun. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully, you guys learned something you may have not known beforehand. And, if you think my team can work for you, hopefully it does. I definitely recommend you, give it a try. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching my video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. If you guys have any comments or concerns, just leave a comment in the video below.